Okay, welcome everybody. Here we are sitting and trying to record episode 4, I guess. 3? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. With Marjolein Lommen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I have a bunch of questions
Okay.
and we just try it and see how it goes. So far what I know, and they are pretty much very a lot of stuff which are common interest with me.
Yeah.
Like you are a nutrition and health student and you are following the entrepreneurship track.
Yeah.
And I've checked you on LinkedIn and you have you completed a very interesting bachelor, which was a very multidisciplinary course, or
Yeah.
how do you say it? And
Yeah.
it was psychology, social science, some
Life sciences.
life sciences.
Yeah.
Wow, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was really well, after high school I didn't really know what to do. And I looked at a lot of different studies and I just didn't know because it didn't really click for some reason. I just kept something missing. And then I found out about university college, and the thing is you can basically create your own studies. So for me that was something like, oh my god, this is what I want to do. Because I was interested in health, but I did not only want to approach it via medicine, for instance, or psychology, but I felt like there's more to health than just the physical aspect or the mental aspect. So that's why I wanted to start off really broad, because I wanted to explore this, like what do I like best, or do I still want to have this super multidisciplinary approach? And in the end it appeared to be like that. Like I really liked the combination of everything. So I did life sciences and psychology, and with UCM you have to explore every discipline basically. So I did a lot of different courses.
It's in Maastricht, right?
In Maastricht, yeah.
Cool. And so you didn't know what you wanted to do then, but you had this urge that you wanna contribute somehow, or you were just this completely innocent young girl like, I just wanna learn something interesting?
No, I wanted to contribute something, but I think not really in the in the conventional kind of sense, if that makes sense.
What is the conventional?
Yeah, I think just the...
I think many people just follow the school and then they want to get a job.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the conventional.
Yeah, and that's what I was wanting to do as well. But then after, UCM also changed me a lot, I think. I became really critical and I wanted to search for, or at least study what I found interesting, and not just like, here you have some course and you can do it. Which of course is fine, but before I didn't have the mentality of really fighting for what I want to do. And at UCM I really had to talk to my advisor about every step I took, like, why do you want to take this course? Why do you think it's important? And otherwise I couldn't do it. So I really learned to think about every step I took, and that also you learn a lot about yourself by doing so.
So you got there a serious mentoring too.
Yeah, everyone gets a personal advisor. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, Wageningen was a direct choice? It was obvious to come here? Or?
Not really, because afterwards I was still a bit stuck, I guess. Because I didn't know what to do after. There weren't really, because I did an interdisciplinary bachelor's, right?
Yeah.
And there are not too many.
Specification is difficult.
And I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge to really enroll in a master's that asked for certain specific qualities. But there were not really too many interdisciplinary masters. That's still kind of developing. So then I was like, okay, I have no clue what I want to do, but I felt like I had the psychology side, the physical side, but there was also nutrition. Okay, it's maybe also a bit physical, but nutrition was something that also sparked my interest a lot. But I didn't have courses in Maastricht. That's not really too common, at least not in the bachelor or the courses that I found. So then I thought, well, I just give it a try, and they accepted me here, so I was super happy.
Yeah, and if I see what you follow, these courses with the entrepreneurship track, this is pretty much kind of your own design again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also how it started, because at UCM we also had entrepreneurship courses and business courses, and I always was like, no, that's definitely not for me. And yeah, I don't know, I didn't even try it. I just thought that's not for me. And then I came here, and I struggled a bit with the fact that I was really stuck in this program, right? Because it was for the first time now that people say, okay, these are the courses you have to take. And that's maybe also a bit of a pitfall, but if you tell me things like that I have to do, I'm going to search for ways out. And I was also like, okay, but this is not what, it didn't spark my, how do I say this? I don't know, I felt I couldn't take out everything. I needed a bit more, not only this nutritional side, like this is good and this is how you should do it, but I missed the broader overview. And then it kept me thinking, okay, what do you want to do afterwards? Is it really into research or maybe more in the business side? And that's basically how I found the entrepreneurship track, because I think it's super important to not only have the researchers that are good in, doing these research jobs, but also to have these people that can build the bridges between the more like business side of it and the research that has been done.
Yeah, and many people think that we know that the world is going around business, and of course sometimes it's stigmatized in a way that the business is for the greedy dudes. And how can we do then anything, any change? How can we achieve if we don't know how the business world is working, and what are the practices, what can be used also for useful stuff, not just for greedy intention. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's important to have at least more people with a master's degree that have also this link, and they at least know a little bit about how these things work. I mean, you know that of course as well if you're doing these courses.
I was not able to follow these courses, but when I was doing my internship here at Start Life, I was using my internship to follow the course. So I was not officially enrolled, but I was just following the course. So it was also cool. Yeah, and because I know that you really care about stuff in the world, so you also showed up in the social entrepreneur meetup, and I'm very curious, how do you experience nowadays in your environment how other students think about not just business, but business with an impact? Can you kind of estimate a ratio, how much percentage of the people, the students, are really like, oh, we wanna do this because of for the better world or something?
I think that's hard though, because I haven't been in business for too long, and I think in Wageningen we have quite it's a different kind of population, different kind of people that are here. So the people I meet here and that are involved in business, at least most of them, they are really passionate about making a change. But I'm not really sure, like my brother, he's studying in Rotterdam. And I know this already.
This is hardcore business.
This is really different. He's not studying business, but I can see if we have discussions or anything like that, his way of thinking is different and maybe a bit tougher, because here everything is more like, which is also nice, people inspire each other, but sometimes you miss maybe this critical voice, the devil's advocate maybe. Yeah,
cool. And you have already a project running, right?
Yeah.
In Velden?
Velden, yeah.
Velden?
Yeah. Exactly. Super small town.
It's about food forest, right?
Yeah. So basically I started half a year ago with a friend, and she was studying, well, we both come from Velde, which is super small place. So I already knew about her, but we didn't really connect before. And then I encountered her here, and I met her again in Wageningen. So then we got to talk, like, oh, what are you doing here? And she was into sustainable agriculture. I was more of the nutrition side. And we were just discussing this, like, yeah, but we should, there are super nice projects here already and it works. But I feel like in Limburg, where I'm from, the south, it's a few steps behind, and it always takes time before things get through. And we were like, okay, why should we not try? And because people always say, yeah, maybe they are not ready yet or something. So we were like, okay, we just try and then see how it goes. And yeah, basically now we started. It started out of a bit of a fun idea, and then it grew out. There were a lot of people that were super enthusiastic. We were like, okay, we have to start now. We cannot say, oh no, we were just trying something, but we have to actually go through with it now.
Cool. And I was watching the intro video, super nice. And you have a real message behind the whole project. Mm-hmm. Like you have the educational purpose, the children in the target as a target group to approach, and the project will also kind of support the biodiversity in this area, and of course the social engagement can be also triggered by it. And what is the main focus, or how because it's very nice how you actually integrated everything. I see also the food and the local food production from all of these angles. So we cannot just put it like this is like food production and you don't have to go there, which is the industrial agriculture most of the time is the farmers are not creating nice places to be. And of course people don't want to go there, they don't want to spend their time there, but why not? I mean,
yeah, we were also thinking about this, like how can we really change it? And then, I mean, healthy food is super hot topic now. But Helene, my friend, is then in the sustainable agriculture, and then we also encountered the food forest. And we thought that was maybe a super nice way of combining healthy food, but not only staying in this conventional way of producing it, but also showing people another way of having healthy food, but at the same time producing it sustainably. And that's basically that's where it started. And then we felt like, okay, we have to include as many people as possible. So we want to have the children interacting with the elderly or the people that are alone sometimes, and the teenagers, which are still a bit hard to to get connected to the project. But yeah, we want to have everyone involved.
Yeah, but if you create a kind of milieu or a kind of
environment,
that is like environment, but this nice feeling, nice setting what you have it, for example, in the creative garden, that can also attract the younger people also with the cooking and music and all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's not that that big challenge. Just try to step in their shoes and see what attracts them.
Yeah, exactly. But it's now we have already, most people are already linked in some way to the project, except for these the youngsters. And then we found now a location which is next to all the sports facilities, which is super convenient. But because there are all these young people, we want to actually involve in our project as well. So we are in the middle of the village, so it's also a lot of visibility that we hope it will work out the way we think.
And is it a social initiative with an entity, with a legal entity, or what is the plan? Are you gonna create a business model or not, or what is the biggest challenge right now besides the youngsters?
The biggest challenge now is Not really sure. Now it's going pretty. We had the really big problem of the location, but that's solved like 1 month ago.
Yeah.
So that's super nice. But we still have, in order, the government or the municipality wants to help us, but in order for them to help us, we need to become a foundation or something like that. But we already found a solution because there are people that already have a foundation, which is urban farming. And they said, okay, we want you guys to be, you can become a separate entity of our foundation. So you don't need to pay all the money because it's quite expensive to set up a foundation. So that's all solved now. I think the biggest challenge is to keep people motivated. Because a lot of people said they want to become involved, but we had a lot of time talking to people and discussing things. But of course, the people that want to be involved, they don't see all this. So we really need to find a way of keeping them involved, and before we actually can start and plant and really do stuff.
Yeah, and you're gonna also have a fixed days there, like a Sunday or 2 days a week, or what is the plan? Because there are many, but I experienced that in a food chain, even if you are going to a restaurant or from the farm to the fork, there are many micro tasks which should be done, and the organization is sometimes a bigger challenge than to do these micro tasks. And what is the plan with that?
We haven't really talked about this yet. We still have to even figure out if we want to have members or whether we want to have just sponsors, or we actually set a meeting for that now. But that's the thing Helene and I started, and we had this kind of idea, but we also wanted to become a community project. So for us, it's really also looking at, it's obviously a great learning experience, but also we do not want to have everything like, okay, this is how we're going to do it, because we want to have input from other people. So we created a board now, and we really want to make them also how do you say
involved?
Involved, or
be the part of it, like
that they take the responsibility, so that if we step away in maybe a couple of years, because we also don't know what will happen after we graduate or something, that it's still sustainable, and that it's not like, okay, these two girls wanted to have it this and that way, but we actually didn't want, so now we stop or something. I don't know.
Talking about responsibility, in this promo film, you were also mentioning that you feel responsible to create this environment where people can learn about food and get to know every aspect of food production. And how did it develop? It's already from the bachelors, or mostly in Wageningen? And do you feel that with other fellow students that this responsibility is there? Because what I see is that I think that the food production, almost every task around food production is a very responsible task, almost as like in a medicine, for like doctors, because if we don't eat the right food, then it will have huge consequences for the society and also on a personal level. So, and that strong moral and responsibility, what I miss a little bit from the mainstream agriculture or food. How did it start for you?
For me, how did it start? I don't know. I think I always already had it a bit, that I felt really like I have to do something, or I have to take responsibility to change, because maybe that's also what my parents had always used to say to me, like, you have to do it yourself, no one else will do it for you. So then at some point I was like, okay, I don't know, like, I'm not a food forest expert, not at all, but to not do something, I will never really become an expert. I think that's also the pitfall. If you think you first have to know everything, you will never do it. So I think that was an important step for me, to just start doing stuff, because you will learn on the way what you have to learn. But I think this urge of really taking the responsibility, I always kind of had it. And some weeks ago, I actually had this also discussion with a friend of mine. We were discussing this, and I also said, like, it's strange, like I don't know how we even got there, but then she mentioned, I think you have a bit more of this urge, to really take the responsibility than others. And then it also hit me like, okay, it's not that everyone has this, and it's not necessary for everyone to have this. But I agree with you that I think most people maybe are the mainstream.
I'm talking more about people who are studying agriculture and food sciences.
Okay, really
so
specific.
That's what I miss, because from the average people I can understand, because for me it was also like I also studied just first in Hungary just the industrial agriculture. It was not even a course or anything about organic or whatever, and it started to become the norm. And then I studied more and more. And after I spent 10 years in different universities, then I got this broader picture, also similar what you have, this multidisciplinary aspect, an overview, which is, since I have it, I feel that urge, geez, man, no one is seeing what is happening, and we should do something, or at least raise awareness to talk about this kind of things.
But I think that's super difficult. I think most people see it, but they just don't know what to do about it and then ignore it. And I think it's such a shame, and it's really a misconception that you cannot... I've heard this phrase so many times, like, what does my choice? My choice doesn't make a difference. But it does,
Yeah.
But just this thing of, okay, I know what's going on, but what can one person do? And I think that's the whole
victim mentality.
Maybe, or just not knowing. And then, raising awareness could help. But I think also, and that's why we also started this project, that people take responsibility, even if it's super small, but that they at least start doing something about it. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't have the answers, but I think.
So what would you advise to anyone who wants to start a food forest project?
Just start.
What is the minimal size of land? What is needed?
I have seen super small food forests, so it can be even in your backyard. But if you, there are super cool projects going on also in Den Bosch. Den Voedselbos is called. And it's this is a really interesting project because they combine the food forest with really... because in a normal food forest it's not really possible to get a lot of harvest, or at least for how do you say this, for supermarkets or something. But then Voedselbos actually made this design so they have enough to also build this business around it. So you can do a lot of different stuff. It's just about how you want to do it. And I think that's also the nice thing of food forests. There are a lot of people that already have quite some knowledge, but you can also do it in many different ways. So if you feel like you want to do it more in a business kind of way, it's possible, but also in other, like education or even just the design can be super, can be really adjusted to what you want.
So we got back to the point where I think with Henk we were also discussing this, that the conventional industrial agriculture is just about about the amount, and this is their goal. Sometimes it seems crazy because they just want more for any price, any environmental cost or social cost, doesn't matter. But it's a long known thing that only focusing on the amount of production, it's a pitfall. You won't get far with that.
No.
Because the small farmers, because of their size, they are too small, and the big farmers, they have to have a lot of loans, and they get into the financial trap. And why don't they focus on these second and third activities, how it used to be? because then if it has this social angle, then it's much more safer and much more fun to do it. I guess.
Yeah, but I think it's money is a big issue also.
Yeah, but if we see the industrial agriculture, the production, that you see overall in the world, the poor farmers, the poor small farmers. So even though they are focusing on the money and the amount, what they don't get better off from that.
Yeah, I know, because we had these discussions also with farmers. Just put some trees next to your land and it will actually improve your harvest and earn more money. But they don't want to do it. They say no, it causes shade and a lot of other troubles, and I don't want to. So maybe it's also awareness again. People just don't know.
Factory farm, that's the thing. Like the soil out there, the big lands, they became used as factories and food factories, and that's why on the countryside, in most of the rural places, there is unemployment, so people don't have anything to do because the automation is already so developed. But on the other hand, if you see people in these giant cities which are just getting bigger and bigger, there are such a big amount of suffering, and people are they have all kind of diseases and psychological problems, because I think these apartment complexes are not the most human constructions.
No. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
And what do you think? What you have learned in the entrepreneurial track? Those tools, are they helping you getting forward, even if it's a social project?
Yeah, for me, I think it definitely helps because it makes you look different at projects, and I can also understand other people better. So if we are talking to different stakeholders, I can understand where they're coming from, and because you basically know the underlying mechanism at least a little bit. So yeah, for me it helps. Yeah.
And would it be the ideal thing to really establish a company after you graduate, or what is the dream?
Yeah, the dream is Helene and I actually, we want to get together and start dreaming like full on. So what do we actually want with this? And so we're still thinking about maybe we leave this project once it's standing and then continue with the two of us. But how and what, if we really dream big, we want to travel the world with this, but how this is even going to be possible, or because it's quite you have to invest a lot. It takes a long time, so I'm not sure, but we have to see. Preferably, like if I can really say what I want to do, then that would be nice if we can start a business somehow with the two of us, doing good, also earning some money. Yeah. And then traveling the world maybe.
And how do you see, because we touched upon the agriculture part, the social part, the business part, but your main course is the nutrition and health.
Yeah.
So what about that? How do you see that fitting in the picture?
Well, that will come in later, obviously. And but I'm already talking to some people about how we can actually connect this food forest to nutrition or nutritional programs or whatsoever. So I think that would actually fit in really nicely. But yeah,
definitely, because that's what I also see, that these very, very specific knowledge about agriculture or even organic agriculture, and then if you see some people, they don't really, they know a lot about these topics, they produce amazing products, but they don't seem to care that much about what they eat sometimes. So there is a specific focus, and you don't see that this holistic view is often present. However, they are amazing people, amazing projects, and I don't know, it's just somehow some little thing is missing.
Yeah. So that's hopefully what we will we will do. But I think also it takes time, and that's the hardest thing, because I do not know where I will be in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And such a forest actually needs time to develop. So we have some ideas, but it's also hard to really place them in time, and when we can start what, and how this will even develop. And also because a food forest gives food that is not what people are used to. So how are we even dealing with this? And yeah, so a lot of things, I mean, it gives room to a lot of creativity as well. Even with nutrition, you can start, I mean, a whole different type of...
I know.
Yeah, so it's super cool, but it's also difficult. Yeah, so we're still figuring out how we want to do this.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm a vegan now since March. I'm not that very... how do you say? I don't put politics or any kind of, these drastic things. Okay, I feel sorry for the animals, of course, but I just try this way of nutrition first of all because of my own health, because I just don't trust in the industrial way of meat production.
Yeah.
And I also got to the point that if I'm not able to kill an animal, that why would I eat it?
Yeah.
But you see many times that this is the biggest issue about the animals. Like, so if someone is going to vegan, then they go right away about, oh, poor animals. I'm totally with them, but it can be... So at the same time as it's putting the shame right away on the people who actually eat the animals. So I think if you just have a choice of a vegan and you explain why is it good for you, then it can be more effective than kind of blaming the people who don't do that.
Yeah.
And the question is, there are many questions raised. One question, because I wanted to go back to the responsibility, because there was one point what I wanted to focus on, that you think that you feel responsible because of the knowledge what you acquired during your years, dive into these studies and topics, and being in this environment where many people are interested and involved in these researches. You think that there is a correlation between the level of your feeling responsible of conveying this message with the food forest and your environment or your studies?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, of course you get the environment influences you, but then on the other hand, I feel if it's it also happens because it connects with me or anyone. If it connects, it works, and if it's not, if I wouldn't, how do you say, if it wouldn't connect, then even if you're in such an environment, it wouldn't work. So I think for it definitely helps, but it's not like you are changing your opinions because of your environment, I guess. I think it can actually spark some interest or things you want to do or not. It can tell you a lot. Yeah.
And what about your diet? Do you have any specific tips for the viewers or for me?
If I have tips, it's I don't know. I think it's always difficult because I feel diet is something which is super personal. So what would work for me would not work for you, for instance. So I'm not sure if I really want to give a general thing. I would just say then listen to your body, basically, because if you can feel if something is good for you or not.
Yeah, it's a very tricky advice, because some food products are actually influencing your body on a way that it feels good in the moment when you eat it.
Okay, but it feels good. Yeah, it can feel good, but you can also feel it, I think, mostly in your stomach. So not like, okay, I eat chocolate and then for a moment it's maybe super nice, but then in the end I feel like cramps, or you just, if you I think most people are also kind of numb for it, but if you really how do you say this? Maybe adjust a bit more to your body, you can actually feel also tiny changes, maybe in how your mood afterwards, or because if the chocolate is super nice for a minute, then afterwards you kind of drop and get tired. That's also a thing, if you get tired. I used to think there was something super wrong with me, but then I figured it's just the food. These tiny things, and that's also the difficult thing about food, I guess, that it's not always super obvious that this food does this to you. You think, I'm tired because I already did a lot of stuff, maybe, and not because you just ate a lot of chocolate. Or
and you know, there are many narratives are still spreading that you need to eat a lot, you need a lot of protein. Like, meanwhile, we know that, for example, there is also, to digest a certain amount of food, it costs enormous amount of energy. So even if you eat the good amount that you possibly need, because you need to go, you need to have some nutrition for your body, it costs you so much energy to digest sometimes that the how do you call it, the equal like if
equilibrium?
The equation is pretty much sometimes like, okay, you ate, but you were basically ate to digest.
Exactly. And I think even if you walk in a supermarket, a lot of stuff is just, if you only read what's on the back of the products, you think like, why do they put so many stuff in it? It can be you have to digest all this and break it down and into parts that your body actually can digest. So I mean, in the supermarket, I think sometimes I feel it's quite hard to get real food, like clean food.
That was basically my main question about like, because I think that maybe there is a way to go towards whole food, and I think it's better if you are as much as possible involved in the food what you eat in the production. Even if it's not gardening, but at least the cooking part, and you know the ingredients, it's already it's a big step towards knowing what you eat and what you put in your body.
Exactly. So then that would be nice if you prepare a lot yourself. If you mean it like that, so not ready to eat things, but I agree, I fully agree with you. For me, this feels really like normal, like this is what all people do, right? So I don't really think about it anymore. If people ask me, it's just I'm super blessed that I grew up on the countryside. We have our own garden and stuff, so if I'm at my parents', we do not go to the shop, we go to the garden and we pick some veggies and fruits, and now I really learned to appreciate it. When I was younger, I was always a bit annoyed because then we had to eat beans for like 2 months because we had to harvest them all at the same time. But now I'm super grateful that that I learned how to work with it as well.
It's also amazing, these seasonal diets. Every meal had their own place in the year, throughout the year. But what the supermarkets produce or provide nowadays is the all-year dietary summer. Have you heard this concept?
I haven't heard
but
like
it's
that. But
pretty much it sounds good, but I don't know.
That's a problem. A lot of people just feel like, I want to eat strawberries. So for me, that's like, but it's not supposed to be here.
I'm also guilty. I like the banana part of it.
Me too. And that's a thing. Sometimes I feel, okay, should I eat that banana? But I know it's not really sustainable to eat it, but it's also handy to have it, you know, because that's what I find sometimes difficult. If you go somewhere, you always have to think about bringing food, or, you know, at least have food, because if I have to buy food somewhere, if I'm on the way, it's not often that I can find really nice stuff.
And I like the banana because it has its own packaging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm just
so then I'm like
overwhelmed that everything is in packaging. And it's crazy.
Exactly.
Actually, sometimes I have these periods when I choose a scapegoat from my food. Sometimes it's grain, sometimes it's sugar. Okay, sugar is almost totally eliminated from my diet. But then if I go for the grains, then is no pasta, nothing at all. And what you were saying also, that people just got used to certain meals. You know, I was kind of processing this whole idea of why we eat what we eat, because there are also many documentaries, but also if you just being aware of what you do and why you do, you just think about that. Wait a minute, how did it start, or why? And you know, the grains and the meat, they were the most in a couple of 100 years ago, in all the ancient times, they were the food products which was kind of easy to carry on or transport or do whatever, but it doesn't mean that we have to eat it all the time. And actually I was, for a long time, it's strange because my diet challenge started from normal to paleo first. So I was eating a lot of meat, but I didn't eat any grains and anything. And I really looked deeper into this grain business and the whole the grain as a whole entity, and I figured out that, Jesus Christ, the industries want to feed everybody and everything with grain. Like if you see the dog foods, the cows, the pigs, the cats, the fish, and the people, if you just see what kind of restaurants you can see, the Italian or the bakeries, or the Chinese also have a lot of noodles and stuff, or the fast food restaurants. It's just amazing that this is still happening while we have different technologies to store other products, or have almost all the time fresh veggie products. And meanwhile, this focusing on a enormous amount of grain production, it causes very, very serious environmental problems, for example. So I see grain production and animal husbandry, the industrial one, combined together, one of the most harmful for our environment. And I'm just not talking about the numbers, what they say as pollution, but it's just, okay, sometimes it's nice to see a big field, but I'm from a city where there is a very, very good land. So when you leave the city, you just see everywhere this industrial so even corn or wheat. And what can you do there? I mean, you just drive through and that's it. It was fun to be here, thanks. And last weekend I was again visiting the Maritime Museum, you know, with the shipping and stuff. And there were certain products named as being traded. I don't know if I'm saying good, but the grains were the godfather or the oldest thing of trade. And it's still happening. And so the paleo mindset was explaining that, come on, dude, if you would be a Paleolithic man, which, I mean, genetically you are almost the same, you would never find that amount of starch at one place.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, it's not even processed. So you could never overdose yourself. But it is the same with table sugar.
Yeah.
So in that sense, these logics, these patterns, I picked up and try to moderate my consumption. But it's strange how from paleo now I'm at vegan. But it's a journey and a continuous learning process about my body and.
Yeah, but I think that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
You just get some insight in certain. Then you start with paleo, but then you find out more about why they actually do this, and then how you feel about it. I think that's good. And even if what you said, like I try to, how did you say it? I try to find each time another product that I do not eat.
Yeah.
I think that's a super clever way of doing it. Even because I also used to, every once in a while I eat no sugar 1 month, and it's super hard to get adjusted to it again because I have to look at the packages, and almost everywhere if I want to eat with friends and stuff, I have to be like, oh sorry guys, but there's sugar in here, and they're like, what? But that's a good
and then
good way
you
of
are the
doing
weirdo. And then you are the weirdo because you don't eat meat or don't eat sugar. Come on.
No, but I find a lot of people find it also interesting because they
Yeah.
were like, is there sugar in here or any other ingredient? And and that's also the thing. So a lot of people don't know what's in there. I mean, I also don't know what's in every product, but I get surprised a lot if I look at packages.
Yeah.
So I think it's super nice to try it out at least a month, and then you see like, okay, whoa, I didn't know this or that,
and many people. I was not informed all the time, but no, I'm kind of safe because of Eva.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say that, Eva.
Yeah, that people say it's also a common narrative that but your body needs sugar, so it's okay, and they don't differentiate between the table sugar and the sugar which is naturally in some products.
Yeah.
And and the other thing that what I'm also kind of still very annoyed or whatever, that there are certain products which are just not good for us. For example, these I don't talk anything about the candy bars and all of this. Okay, it's nice. It's a bit shame for the kids to feed them with that, but we were also eating that. But I'm more about the margarine and these kind of products which are like, if it's hydrogenized, then it has this it's hydrogenized oil, because otherwise it would be fluid, right? And it has this effect on the body that it's a high chance that it can have the effect on the body that it raises the inflammation in the body. And if we see most of the diseases what we have, they are based on inflammation, and we are just feeding just with our diet this slight inflamed body, and that's why we are much more vulnerable to certain diseases.
Yeah, it's strange if you think about these things. I was talking to this with a professor also about margarine, and he said...
was I correctly explaining how it works?
I think so, yeah. Okay. But he also said margarine is not even butter anymore, but everyone calls it butter. Yeah. So you can see how this is also stuck in people's minds, like... You just have to push through as an industry, and at some point everyone will just call it butter. But he said there's nothing buttery about it. Like that's even a word. Yeah, but that's the weird thing, and I think that's also a bit the danger about the whole healthy trend, because I feel a lot of people they are also they are how do you say this?
They're trying. They are trying.
No,
There
but
is
they
no
are
fat.
just
That's the other misconception, that fat, or I don't know. No, I don't know. After I was seeing the last vegan movie, I don't know if fat is good or not. But
yeah.
but that's what most people try to avoid by buying margarine instead of butter, right?
I think so, yeah. But yeah, it's super personal, and I think you have to, okay, with these products, I would say just think about what's really happening. Is it really still butter, or maybe just a trick? But I think what's also dangerous is that there are a lot of people that are not eating healthy because they think it's crap, this whole healthy trend.
Yeah.
And I think that's also kind of, I always get a bit flabbergasted by it, because they say, yeah, it's such a nonsense, this whole healthy eating stuff. And then I think, but you are also getting fooled now by just eating not healthy. Just, they say, and that's maybe also a Dutch thing, you have to just be normal, you have to always be normal. And they are like, yeah, why are people doing this healthy thingy? We just have to eat from the supermarket or something. And then I'm like, yeah, but yeah, you also get tricked into doing that, because it's not healthy what people, it's just they want to make money, and they do not necessarily care if it's good for you.
Yeah. And that was the other thing I almost repeat myself in every podcast, that actually people don't realize that these relationship what we have with food, which is kind of this embedded trust from the source, if it's nicely packaged, if the music is nice, if the setting of the shop is beautiful, then we just trust, because it's also the brand awareness. Oh, they are everywhere. So that's what we are surrounded with. But if we go deeper or back in time, even just a couple of generations before, the biggest part of the population was actually in food production. And it was also mostly local food production. Everything was bio and organic. And then this trust was there for maybe hundreds of years, because if your neighbor sold you some crappy product, then you would never buy it again. So it was logical to trust in the source. But it has totally, maybe was being kidnapped in a certain sense. And it's just so difficult, even if you want to eat healthy, to think about that, what would be the nice solution. And actually that's what makes me a little bit frustrated or worried on a daily basis. Is, geez, man, we have all of this technology, all of these resources, and still, so even if I don't, let's say, I don't count myself as an environmentalist, I try to be sustainable, I try to do sane stuff and not over consume. But my main concern and my main focus regarding to food is that the food should be healthy, and that's it. And if we see the whole industry and what manipulations and additives and what the sensory science people figure out to get addicted or whatever, that's the biggest concern. Because what you are doing also with the food forest is reconnecting the people with nature and their food. But the mainstream is going to a totally different direction, to disconnect people from nature and food. And certain industries, if there are companies with billions of dollars of resources, they can easily hire some PhD students, like 20 or 50 or whatever, or professors and whole chair groups, and they can create science on a sense that they gonna focus. I I don't say that is always like that, but they can really influence the way where the nutrition and science is going. And I was also telling to Ava, she was also doing the nutrition and health, but she's first was a dietitian, that baby, basically your profession as a dietitian, it was needed, or it has to be implemented because of the food industry created this chaos, and it's kind of a weird twist, right?
Yeah, at least they have more types of jobs, right?
Yeah,
yeah, that's that's super weird world if you look at it like that. Yeah.
And another thing is like part of my family is still in the kind of old world, like believing, and it's just very hard to influence them or to tell them anything, and that's is another difficult task when you spend some years around veganing and then go through some studies and see new trends and hear about food scandals on a scientific level which maybe don't reach the media. It's just very difficult to deal with this, like, while I'm also focusing, okay, and what should I eat? So I'm very happy that I joined to the Creative Garden from this year.
Ah, good. Yeah. But do you think it's only the older generations or also in your own, like in our generation?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it could be that it also in our generation too.
Yeah.
And you know, the older generation is tricky because, for example, my mother, she's into the supermarket stuff, but my father not.
Mm.
And my grandmother, she's the hardcore gardener. She's now 94.
Ah, wow.
Okay, this winter she doesn't have chickens because she is afraid that she slips on the icy ground or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where most of my inspiration comes. That, geez, man, if you want to live healthy, just keep yourself busy, and get your own food, or be in an environment where you have the trustworthy food, and then you don't need medication.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's also, you know, when you are 94, I mean, the whole street around her was dying and stuff in the last, you know, almost, okay, she lived there since 65 years or something.
Wow, yeah.
You know, I can hear from her stories like, okay, the healthcare is different in that village-like town, because the families are still more together, so they don't necessarily put their old family members to an institute. They don't institutionalize them to, okay, this is the time you need medical care, you go into this hospital or whatever elderly home. But no, in many cases the healthy or healthier family members, they support these older sick people who are often sick and cannot leave the bed for years.
Yeah.
3-4 years. And I've heard that this is another big issue also with the Dutch healthcare system, like how to deal with the elderly. And okay, it's not related to food, but it's another interesting topic to see how, for example, in a very urban environment, you are not able to create this organic supportive mechanism which can be created in a village where you actually know your neighbors and because, you know, at least they can do the shopping or something, and they do their own shopping. It's just a.
But in an urban environment, it's more difficult.
I think so.
And why? Because you have less connection with the people. You have less
connection. People many times are packed together on the top of each other. If it's a more fancy environment, there is a competition who has bigger house and bigger car.
Yeah.
And I was I was having like some weird ideas about this urban rural dynamics. Like for example, I even reached back to the American political parties. Like I was wondering, like, geez, man, if you live in a modern metropolitan city, of course you are progressive, because there is just almost these people all the time. These people are coming, millions of people, and there's just no place. They have to evolve somewhere, they have to go somewhere. And if you live on the countryside, of course you create your own world. You know, you live there since generations. It's your little hacienda or whatever. Of course you are conservative. You don't want change. You don't want to change your little world. So that's another thing what no one talks about. Just they just showing like they are the other party, but no one thinks about why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's indeed a bit, even if it's just my brother also says this, like, because he's moved now to Rotterdam, which is much bigger than when we are from, but when he's back home, everyone just says hi to each other, even if you don't know these people, or if you see someone on the street, you just say hi. And he's like, yeah, and where I live in Rotterdam, I don't even know who's living next to me, basically. Yeah, that's super weird, but can imagine that it's more like a survival mode. You go there to the city maybe also to achieve something, or
maybe it's another narrative. We are talking about narratives, and people think that there is more to achieve in a city. Of course, there for a long time it was the case, and maybe still now it is the case, but the quality of life what you can live in a city is much different than in a countryside. Okay, you can visit theater, so the cultural part is okay. I don't say it's not okay, but if you would have also healthy rural communities, that the culture would be also fixed there, because there would be, of course, some artists and some folklore or whatever.
Yeah, but then it's still interesting, I think, that you then, I mean, people want to have this connection to other people, right? So why, if you move to the city, wouldn't you have this, like, your life would evolve around different things? Then it's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on it. I'm just hearing it from many personal development sources, that most of the people feel themselves more lonely in a crowded city than if they would just be in a like some rural community.
Yeah, but I can imagine that, like, even if I'm back at my parents' place, we also have it's a super like, everybody knows each other, and even though I probably at first hand wouldn't choose my neighbors to maybe connect with, because I don't know, for whatever reason, but just because you are so different, you also learn super nice things from each other. And I think maybe if I had to pick people myself, then I would, you basically choose people that have similar ideas. Maybe I think it's also super nice to have people around you that have different views of that. I don't know. So it's weird that if you move to a city, that suddenly it's like, yeah, but I can't connect to them or something. We don't have anything in common.
Yeah, I think it works if you have a specific focus in art or your profession. It can really work out very well, because then you know where this knowledge or those resources what you need are concentrated. But if you don't know what to do and just do a stupid factory job in the city, which is in most cases the what is happening. Actually, there was today in the Impact Hub a conference or whatever, a meetup about this, if technology is good for us or not, and they were mentioning like that 24% or even more. That was some enormous amount of percentage, but they highlighted that I say 24, maybe it was even more, percent of the Amsterdam citizens, they earn below the minimum wages.
Really?
And if you see most of the cities, I mean, the inner city can be charming in most of the cities, but if you go to the outskirts and you don't go to the suburbs but just the other parts, it's not that nice place to be. And I could say that, okay, in Hungary it is because of the communism and lots of these very dark or not dark but gray buildings were pulled up very quickly because it was some design. But even in Western European cities is the same situation. So I just wait a minute, it was what's happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's also this kind of this notion that people, at least also here in the entrepreneurship track, a lot of people tell you if you really want to know if your idea is good, you have to go to Amsterdam, and if it works there, it works everywhere, basically, right? Maybe really a shortcut, but okay. But then I'm like, so this is what I thought at first as well. Okay, so I have to go to Amsterdam or at least a big city to see if it works and to, But is this really true? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a similar like the gold digging a bit.
Yeah,
right?
but that's maybe also a lot of people move there, and I mean there are also a lot who do not achieve, or their businesses fail or whatever.
Or imagine if you don't have the skills, you haven't finished your studies, you have this lower qualification, and you hear the same message that go to the big city and you can make it.
Yeah.
You see all the rich people are there, you see all of these cars, the hotels and everything, and it can happen that you're really stuck in a very low skilled job, and maybe you get frustrated after a while, you get into alcohol or all of this stuff, you meet someone, because of course in a city you're gonna meet someone in a crazy clubbing night where you spend all of your monthly income. And maybe if he or she is in an upper class or whatever, then you have a difficult time to cope. So most probably you're gonna meet with someone with a similar class, at least from a income perspective. And if you are badass together, then you can get to the next step because together is easier. But if it's not the right click, maybe you can lose years in a wrong relationship. Maybe you're gonna have also a kid. Not you, but I mean in general. But it's very, very tricky. And from the moment you go to the city, you have to pay for everything, and just using this 3P of parking, peeing, pooing, basically for everything.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, in the countryside, you can have even in the Dutch context, you can have a cheap life because you are not all the time exposed to these triggers of commercials, and you consume less if these triggers are not triggered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think, so it's interesting how we have this notion of that the bigger city is always better if you want to try stuff, because I used to have this focus as well, like, okay, someday I have to go there and try if it works. But I'm from a small town in the south. It's also close to Venlo, which is like a bigger city there. And then I met some people there who are also into entrepreneurship, and we got enrolled in this program and stuff. And then I got to talk to this woman who actually moved here from that region of Amsterdam. And she was also like, I don't agree with you at all that you have to go to Amsterdam, because I was also saying her this, like, in some time I'll probably go there. And she's like, no, but it's just about finding your chances, It's not like you go to Amsterdam because then it works. She says, okay, for instance, Venlo has a lot of different opportunities because it's close to the border, and you have bigger cities in Germany, for instance.
Düsseldorf is...
Yeah, Düsseldorf is even the closest bigger. It's closer than Nijmegen or Eindhoven or Maastricht even. So, yeah, and that got me thinking, like, okay, why are people then saying this all the time, that we have to go somewhere to see if it works? Whereas I feel, I completely changed my view on this. What people said here, that you have to go there, to now, like, okay, but maybe there are also certain ideas that are more needed somewhere.
And the internet helps.
And internet definitely helps, yeah. But I learned to not, to also keep an open mind. Maybe I was becoming a bit too narrow in that sense, but to keep an open mind in the opportunities, because every place, wherever you go, even if it's super small or you think it's super small, has certain possibilities and opportunities, but you just have to see them. I think that's a really important thing that I learned during this whole journey.
I have the same feeling with Wageningen. I think many people criticize it because it's size, but there is pretty much everything what I need to be happy. So
and there are also a lot of opportunities here as well. But I had the same before I came here. People were telling me, "Oh, I feel so sorry for you. You have to go there," you know. It's so weird, but it's just these notions people have.
Yeah, and you know, if you want to get wasted every week, then you need some clubbing place. But then maybe we should consider. I mean, I was also a party animal before, but looking back, and I think who needs that input every week, there is something to think about, that it's something missing, because there is a kind of compensation or numbing some pain or relieving some pain, which is kind of piled up during the week, that they don't like the situation, they have to commute or just traveling through the cities. It can be very stressful too.
Yeah.
So, what would you advise to young food entrepreneurs who want to feed the world, their local community with healthy food?
What my advice is? My advice would just be to... so hard. I think it's really important to go through the journey, because you learn a lot from it. So I can tell you now, go to this or there or do this. But I learned the most by going through it myself and learning the things that
follow your heart.
Follow your heart, then basically, Cool. And then, you will know at some point when it clicks or when it connects that you're on the right track, and you have to try to follow that, I would say.
Cool.
And do good. Yeah, I mean, you know when something is good for others or the planet or whatever. Okay, this is maybe then a really general thing, but
why not?
Common sense, I would say. And you can always do something, even if as an individual. Just go for it and just start. Even if you don't have all the knowledge yet, there will be people that will help you, or that will, you will gain the knowledge as you go. So just go for it. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marjolein Lommen, she was dropping some wisdom for us. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time. Thank you for all the people who will listen to this or watch this. And I'm looking forward to hear the next chapter of your story. And keep in touch.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye bye, people. Ciao, ciao.